So you've got this awesome tune from your tuner and he hands you this dyno sheet with amazing numbers on it. Everything's good, right? Maybe it isn't. Let's dive into it. Hey everybody, welcome back to the garage, and as always I want to start off by thanking everybody who likes the contents, who subscribes, who communicates in the comments, descriptions, all that stuff. Thank you. You guys are the best. You drive the channel. I appreciate everything that you do, all the information that you share. If you haven't checked out our website, go to goatropegarage.com. There's links to the merch, there's links to the Patreon for tuning assistance, which ties into today's topic perfectly. So check that out, 15 bucks a month gets you email tuning assistance. And I'm so glad that this patron reached out to me because he had bought a car, a ZL1 to be in fact, and car's awesome, runs like a bat out of hell, but it has some drivability issues. And so he had signed up, asked for some help, sends me a log and a tune, and as soon as I open up the log, I freak out because the car is running dangerously lean. I mean, who tuned this? We're not going to talk about who tuned it, but I am going to dive into a couple things to look out for if you're getting your vehicle tuned by somebody else. It has been a rampant issue in this industry lately. People who call themselves tuners who are not tuners, or may have been a decent tuner on a Gen 3 platform but doesn't know how to tune a Gen 4 and a Gen 5, and so they shortcut a lot of things. They leave you in a dangerous situation where you could be causing harm to your engine, or they're lazy. They want to put you on the dyno, only do 2 or 3 pulls, and show you a big number on the wide open throttle top end, but have significant drivability issues down at the area where we drive 99% of the time. So that big number that your tuner is making on the dyno doesn't really mean squat. And so that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm not a big proponent of looking at dyno numbers, because you can have the biggest number on the top end. If the drivability is crap on the bottom end, it doesn't matter how big that number is because you're going to struggle to even get there as somebody's blowing your doors off at the track. So I'm going to open up the laptop here. Let's dive in, take a look at this tune and this log, and we'll look at some of the issues that I spotted right away. Okay, so we got the log pulled up here, and there's a lot of information that's missing from this log. It's a patron who is a first-time tuner, just getting into it, was concerned about the tune that he had. I do appreciate him allowing me to share this information. I'm going to block out things like the VIN number and stuff, but he knows who he is, and man, thank you for reaching out so we can get this sorted away. So I like to just go through the base tables right away in a log and scroll through and see where we do have data. And right away, I'm seeing that the long-term trims are zeroed out. Even whenever we're in closed loop, we're not logging long-term fuel trims, which means they've disabled long-term fuel trims. If the tune's good, there's really no reason to disable long-term fuel trims. But where it gets really questionable is whenever we go into short-term fuel trims and we see nothing but red on this screen. Now, the saving grace of this, and don't pay attention to the axis as being flipped based on how yours might be, but the saving grace is at least we get less lean as we get higher in the RPMs. That doesn't keep me from being scared, but the fact that we are 30%, 20% lean, we are between 20% and 30% lean in a lot of areas, and this is a ZL1, so we are making boost on this. We're going into boost at 15% lean. This is a dangerous tune. Somebody screwed up. The person that paid for this tune got hosed, and if the original owner would have brought this tune to me, I would have told them to demand a refund because they are not doing you any favors. So that right there triggered me right away of saying, hey, I need to dive into this tune and see what's going on. So let's open that up. And we're going to start in the airflow. I like to start in the airflow area whenever I look at stuff like this. And we can look at the MAF frequency table. Okay, so the MAF frequency table has been tuned. I'm a little bit concerned about this dip on here because it doesn't look like a natural curve. There can be some that kind of shape out like that if you have specific air intakes on there, but this does not look like a natural dip right here. This looks like a lean spot to me. And then, you know, we flatten out and go linear up there. That's not a big issue. That doesn't bother me so much. Now we go over to dynamic and boom, there it is. We are forced into mass airflow only. So you have heard me harp in plenty of other videos about how important it is to do a proper tune that utilizes speed density. It's not absolutely necessary, but if you are paying good money for a tune, please ask them why they're not going to do the speed density portion of your tune. This is map only. So even if I were to go in and look at virtual volumetric efficiency, we're not using it. I've got it pulled up here. I can tell without even pulling the graph up that it looks like crap. We look at it, yeah, issues everywhere. Sharp peaks, we've got very hard transitions. If we go out, this is supercharged, so let's put this out to a 2-bar setup. See if it gets better or worse. And this has not been touched. So, other than they look like they attempted to do some tuning down on the bottom end, gets even worse on manifold switch open. So, this is just hot garbage. And that's why they defaulted this over to mass airflow, because whoever's tuning this did not know how to tune the volumetric efficiency table. It looks like they fought with it for a little bit, and then they gave up on it. So if we kind of go through a couple of these other things, I'm not worried about a lot of this stuff. We can look at opening rates on electronic throttle. That's fine. It's 100% max. If we look at the map A, they didn't do anything too crazy with the accelerator position stuff. Surprisingly, a lot of times guys like to jack this up and cause drivability issues there. Fuel, we'll look at, let's see what they've got for Stoic on here. 14.67 with a flex fuel setup. That's fine. I'm not going to dive into the injector flow rate stuff because this should be stock. Okay, here we go. Oxygen sensors. Long-term fuel trims are disabled right here. So they do have the LTFTs disabled, but the readiness ECT is set to -40. That's allowing the short terms to work. So once again, not a real reason to have long terms disabled once it's all said and done. They actually help with the transition. Short terms are instantaneous changes to the fuel trim off the narrow bands. Long terms are accumulated averages. And so you want to run off the long terms because the transitions are going to be smoother and better. You want to populate that long-term fuel trim table off of your short terms. We go in, let's look at our power enrichment ratio. Nothing too crazy, 1.2, so they're commanding 0.8 lambda. That's a little bit rich for my taste, but it's safely rich. They probably had a tailpipe sniffer on this. I'm guessing on wide open throttle pulls, they were commanding 1.2 to make sure that they were rich in wide open throttle. So they band-aided it instead of properly tuning it. That's a very good indication whenever you see an overly rich PE, and it's what we used to call back in the mid-2000s, raping your PE table. And that's what happens whenever guys don't know how to do speed density tuning on these platforms. So we got COT disabled still, even though I believe this car still has cats on it. DFCO is actually on, surprisingly. DOD's disabled, good for them. They got one thing right out of this. Now we want to take bets. I'm going to take a second here. Go down, post in the comments whether or not you think they copied the high octane table down to the low octane table, which you know is one of my biggest pet peeves. I'll give you a second here. Because I have a sneaking suspicion that the high octane table and the low octane table probably match, and I've not looked at it yet. So we're going out to 22 degrees in wide open throttle on the high octane table. Low octane? Oh, they didn't. Congratulations, I found a tuner that did not copy it straight over. So thank you, whoever did this, for having the peace of mind of actually having some buffer in there for whenever we get into knock. I 1000% expected to see that copied over. So while there are some issues with this tune, at least it's not the most dangerous tune that I've seen. We can go in, they zeroed out burst knock, nothing wrong with that. Static retard versus cylinder, they zeroed that out, nothing wrong with that. This part doesn't look all that bad at first glance, but let's look at the knock sensors. And they may have desensitized these. I don't know the thresholds for the Z01 off the top of my head, but I can tell you that these have not been desensitized to the point of where they wouldn't work if they have been. So it looks like they may be bumped up a little bit. If you're familiar with the Z01s, you can probably say so down below. Not overly concerning. This car should still register knock at least and should still pull timing if it gets into a dangerous area of spark. We can blast through torque management real quick. They probably maxed about everything out. RPM versus torque, that's fine. Max torque limits, that can cause some drivability issues by maxing those tables out. There's not really a reason to do that. Let's see. Yeah, so could be worse, but fueling wise, it's just an incomplete tune. It's not been done. Somebody was rushed or just didn't get around to completing it, and being that, it is a dangerous tune. So, is that the only things that you have to look for? Well, far from it. This is just a great example of having both a log and a tune that was done by somebody who is considered a professional tuner, and it just had glaring deficiencies in the tune itself. And so if you're out there paying good money for stuff, educate yourself a little bit, see some of the things to look out for, know some of the things to look out for. That way you don't get caught off guard and you don't get taken advantage of. Unfortunately, the previous owner of this vehicle, I feel like he probably got taken advantage of by this shop a little bit. And, you know, unfortunately, I just can't do anything about it because I don't know who it is. But the new owner of the vehicle, we're going to get him sorted out. We're going to get him on the path of learning how to properly tune his own vehicle. His wideband came in today. He's going to install it over the weekend. And man, we're going to get this thing running like gangbusters. He's not going to believe the amount of performance that he's going to be able to pick up with a proper tune. And despite it, this thing made 700 horsepower. If the curve looks like that for 700 horsepower on a supercharged vehicle, you got issues. It should be just power all the way across the band. So thanks again to that patron. Big shout out to them. If you have any questions on some other things to look for on tunes, I can try and help you out on that kind of stuff. Hopefully this opens your eyes up to some of the things to look for. Make sure and check out all the links below. If you found this helpful, throw that thumbs up. If you have not subscribed, subscribe. We're going to get into more tuning. I know we went off track for a little bit to get the Nitrous Express kit installed on Project Country Club, but there's going to be a lot more tuning content coming up very soon. You don't want to miss out because we will be doing some supercharger tuning here soon. Promise you that. That being said, I want to thank everybody as always for their comments, their questions, their participation. Thanks for stopping by the garage. Remember, ABT, always be tuning.